So thank you so much, Fabiola's sister, for actually getting us that 70th like. Thank you so much for saving this man from further embarrassing himself. And I think I speak for everyone when I tell you that we are all thankful that I no longer have to make those awful jokes. So thank you so much, and thank you, Fabiola, as well, for both of you helping us to get that 70th like. So thank you so much. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we are trying to get the Prepare for the CCHI video to 100 likes. So let's do it. We have 72 likes upon checking like 5 minutes ago. We still have 28 likes to go. And why do we want those 100 likes? To the Prepare for the CCHI video. Once we get the Prepare for the CCHI video to 100 likes, we are going to be posting the MIP21, the long-awaited MIP21, to YouTube. And that is not all. Once the video gets 100 likes, then we publish MIP21 to YouTube. We're gonna give everyone a chance to comment on that video. We are going to pick 2 of those comments at random. We're gonna send those 2 winners exclusive links to MIP22 before the whole world can even get their hands on that medical interpretation practice video. We're gonna give them a chance to record their interpretations and send them to us for feedback. So let's do it. Let's get to 100 likes. Let's get the video Prepare for CCHI. I will be posting a link somewhere up here and then a link in the description like always. I'm pretty sure we can do it. Let's get that video to 100 likes. And thanks again, Fabiola's sister, for your 70th like. You are my hero. All right. So, sorry about that. Hello and welcome to Unwind Sessions, where right after my shift I give the highlights of my workday and answer any questions that might have been asked at a previous session. My name is Juan. I am an English, Spanish, medical video remote consecutive interpreter with over 4 years of experience. Today is Wednesday, August 11, 2021. And today I took a total of 26 sessions. Like always, a mix between audio and video sessions, but much more video sessions like always. All right, and I'm gonna get right into the highlights today. And my highlight today is I received a compliment from an LEP, and she said, I just want to thank you for not interrupting me once or limiting my words while you were interpreting. You are very efficient. Most interpreters tell me to give short statements, but not you. I am very thankful to be able to express myself correctly. So she told me that, and of course well, that felt good, you know. That made me feel good that this lady was happy that I was able to interpret long segments, because she's had experience with previous interpreters that had told her to give shorter segments. And then I told the provider that the lady was just complimenting me, and if she wanted me to let her know what the lady said, and she said, yeah, go ahead and tell me. And I told her, and then the provider goes like, oh yeah, this lady, she really likes telling her stories, so you did a very good job. And so I felt very good, and I felt very proud of myself. Of course, it's always good to know we're doing a good job, right? Of course, we always like a compliment. Who can say no to a compliment? All right, and especially if it's about work. So I had more highlights today, but I have a lot of stuff to talk about, so I don't think I'm gonna be including them today. But there was just like 2 more vocabulary words. But I want to add to this because it just so happens that Fabiola has asked me a question about it on yesterday's video. And now to answer your question, Fabiola, I always love a challenge. If the person wants me to interpret a podcast, I will let them. The only thing is that if at any point I know that I will not be able to give an accurate rendition, then I just stop them right there and then I let them know that they need to speak in shorter segments, but that I will interpret everything they have said up to now. Like, why would I do this? For example, the story gets a little bit too technical. The doctor is starting to throw up a lot of terms. Maybe some of them I'm not familiar with, or maybe they're hard terms, and I probably won't remember everything. So I know, like, in my mind, I know, like, when it reaches that point, I can tell I'm not gonna be able to interpret this, so I just stop right away. I just like stop, and you need to stop them like quickly. If you don't stop them quickly, they're just gonna keep going, like you already know. So I just tell them, I'm sorry, this is the interpreter speaking. If you don't mind, I would like to interpret this now to ensure accuracy and completeness, and I will interpret everything you said, but I would like to remind you to please interpret in shorter segments. That way I can interpret it completely and with complete accuracy. But I will interpret everything you have said up to now. And of course, after that, they get the idea and they will stop giving me their podcasts, and they will just do like shorter segments, and then they will even stop by themselves. They'll be like, all right, I'm gonna stop right here, so you can tell them that, but I have to continue. And that's the way that I do it. And if I ever get asked if I can interpret long segments, because sometimes like they know it's gonna be something long and they prepare you for it, right? They ask you, look, I have to say very long stuff. How do you want to go about this? Do you want me to just tell you everything right away and then you interpret, or would you like me to give you sentence by sentence or whatever? They will offer a solution, and I always accept it. I always accept it, even though I love a challenge. I mean, if they're trying to make my job easier and they're conscious, and they're that their segment is long and they just want to make it easier for me, I mean, by all means, you want to make my job easier, go ahead and do it. I accept. Yes, shorter segments for sure, 100% of the time. Never if they have told me longer segments, never do I say no. And one thing that I do tell them is that I sometimes what I do as well is that, for example, they tell me, are you okay with interpreting like long segments? One thing that I might also say, if they just tell me that, if they don't offer to give shorter segments, if they say, are you okay with interpreting long segments? What I will say is, yes, of course, I can interpret long segments, but just keep in mind that the longer the segment, the lower the accuracy and completeness. And the shorter the segments, the higher the accuracy and completeness. And for the most part, this just turns them away from the long segments, and it just makes them give me shorter segments, right? Because who wants for their whatever they say to be inaccurate and incomplete, right? No one. So of course they are going to opt for the shorter segments. And what else do I gotta say about this? Okay, and this is more of an individual thing. No one person can tell you specifically how long are the segments that you can interpret, right? This is something that we as individuals, we know, and of course everything goes on in our mind, right? No one else can know as well. So if you cannot interpret long segments, don't feel bad. That doesn't mean you're a bad interpreter. It just means that you haven't been exposed, you haven't been practicing long segments, right? So what I would say is go ahead and try and practice longer segments, and that way you will get better at longer segments. And it is always okay to turn down a long segment and ask for shorter segments. That doesn't mean you're a bad interpreter, not at all. That means you're a good interpreter, because you know that if you ask for a longer segment, you will not be able to do a good job, and that's a bad interpreter. But if you ask for a shorter segment and you get the shorter segment and you do your good job because the segments are short and you can do it, then that means you're a great interpreter. So don't ever think that you're a bad interpreter because you cannot interpret long segments. Go ahead and ask for shorter segments, and that will make you even a greater interpreter because you're trying to get your job done. So I hope that answers your question, Fabiola. And I have actually started to develop a new video series to improve the short-term memory that is not limited to just interpreters, but developed with us in mind. So stay tuned for that one. I already have scripts and everything. We're just starting to get the voice actors, and we're just gonna do the pilot first. We're gonna see how it goes, but we should have that soon in the next few weeks, so I am very excited about that. So all right, we have got to that point in this video that you are all here to watch, you're all here to see the 10 must-know terms for urology. The following definitions were obtained from hamurology.org.uk, med.virginia.edu, and Google. All right, so for term number 1, there is ureter. Oh man, I was gonna tell you how I struggled with this word, but obviously I'm still struggling with it. Ureter. How come I can't say it? Ureter. I was saying it right now a little bit ago. Ureters. Ureter. Oh, I can't believe it. Ureters. I've been struggling with this word ever since I learned it, so I'm sorry. It's ureters. I don't know why I can't say it. Ureter. I was saying it good a while ago. Ureters. Give me a moment. Ureters. Yes, there we go. Ureters. You can read it there, and that's kind of how it's pronounced. Ureters. Right? And the Spanish translation for that is ureteres. And what is a ureter? I don't know why I can't say it right now. Ureter. So anyways, what is a ureter? You can look it up and have fun pronouncing it yourself, right? So what is a ureter? Ureter is the thin muscular tube which propels urine down from the kidneys to the bladder. So this is like the urethra, you know, that is from the bladder to like well, it's from the bladder to the toilet, right? Basically. So this is kind of the same like a urethra. It sounds the same, right? Ureter. I'm gonna stop saying that word, okay? So this is it's two like thin tubes that go into the bladder, and from the kidneys, like the urine gets drained into the bladder there. So this is urology, and I mean ureters sound like urology, so they are very, very important. They will get mentioned in a lot of things when I think you can have blocked ureter. I said it right, and now I can't say it. You're gonna have blocked ureters. You're gonna have kidney stones going through there. You're gonna have all kinds of stuff, because that's like where urology starts, right at the kidneys, and it just moves down to everything else. So ureters, very, very important term. All right, and number 2, cystoscopy, or in Spanish cystoscopia. And a cystoscopy is an inspection of the bladder using a telescope, either flexible or rigid, with an attached light source to illuminate the interior of the bladder. So I think this, well, no, it can be compared to like an endoscopy or a colonoscopy, right? But in this case, they are looking inside of the bladder. Now, there are a lot of reasons why they could see inside of the bladder. Maybe there's a kidney stone in the bladder. Maybe there's infection in the bladder, irritation of the bladder. There's all kinds of things that can go wrong with the bladder. And since this is urology, right? The bladder is going to be like one of the main stars in all of those sessions. So cystoscopy is very, very important. All right. Number 3, incontinence or incontinencia. Now, incontinence in urology is an urinary incontinence is involuntary leakage of urine. So what does that mean? It means that the person wants to urinate and the pee just comes out on its own. So this is one of those things that can also be treated in GYN. It happens to a lot of ladies, but for the most part, if the GYN cannot cure it, they will send them to a urologist. And one of the things that this happens is, like, it's not like they're constantly just leaking urine, right? But what happens is, like, if the person has an urgency to go to the bathroom, the urine will come out. If the person sneezes, coughs, or laughs, urine will come out. So it's very bad. I can't imagine it'll be very bad. So that is very important, and that is an issue that gets treated a lot, especially with the ladies. All right, and number 4 is extracorporeal shockwave lithotripsy. Where is it here? And is ESWL, or in Spanish is Lithotripsia extracorpórea por ondas de choque, LEOCH. And I put a little asterisk here, if you can see, and here it says lithotripsia. Now, lithotripsia or lithotripsia are interchangeable terms, so you can use both of them. I prefer lithotripsia because it sounds more like lithotripsy, right? So what is it? It's a procedure that uses sound waves delivered inside a water bath to pulverize kidney stones painlessly inside the body. Now, whenever a patient has a kidney stone, and I'm pretty sure it has to be a certain type of kidney stones, there's different type of kidney stones. This one, they use like sound to actually like shake it a lot, and then it just like completely dissolves, and the person can urinate the stone, like the sand or whatever you call it, right? The little tiny pieces of the stone. The person just urinates it, and that is that. Now, this is not a very, very common term, but this is like one of the hardest, most mouthful terms that I've ever come across in urology. That's why I wanted to include it here. And that way, whenever you are exposed to it, you are not so shocked. Right? Like shockwave lithotripsy. You're not so shocked. I'm sorry about that joke. My mind just works in mysterious ways. All right, so you will not be shocked, and for the most part, they will only say lithotripsy, so you already know lithotripsia. So just a tip for that one. You're welcome. All right, and number 5. Here it is prostate gland, and in Spanish, glándula prostática. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Glándula prostática, that is very, very high register, very fancy term. So you can just say glándula de la próstata, or just plain old próstata, right? And they will know what you're talking about. All right, and what is a prostate gland? A chestnut-sized organ lying at the bottom of the bladder, which produces chemicals to nourish sperms and facilitate their transport to the female uterus. All right, so the prostate gland is like whenever a man ejaculates, these chemicals get into the semen, right? They all just get all mixed up and stuff, and then the what's it called, the sperm is going to have nourishment until they get to the egg, right? So that is what the prostate does. All right, and this is very, very common for older individuals above 50 to start to have problems with their prostate. You can have an enlarged prostate, and you can have prostate cancer. All kinds of things can go wrong with the prostate. So very, very important urology term. All right, number 6, and that is, I can't focus it, urinary urgency, urgencia urinaria. And what is a urinary urgency? It is a sudden, irresistible desire to pass urine. So, this happens with like UTIs, urinary tract infections, uh, which I will define in a moment. I'll talk about that at the end. But this usually happens when they have a urinary tract infection or something. Like all of a sudden they're minding their own business, right? And then they just like, oh man, I gotta go to the bathroom, and they need to go. Like they need to go. This also happens with incontinence, right? All of a sudden maybe you just have the urgency, and if the person doesn't make it to the bathroom, they will have incontinence. I've heard a lot of stories about that where people say that they get the urgency, they stand up, and by the time they made it to the bathroom, they already leaked. They're not completely soaked, but they're leaked. So that is a problem that happens a lot, and it is most likely that if you have a urology session, the patient will get asked if he has urinary urgency. All right, so very, very important term. And another one, number 7, is a kidney stone, also known as a cálculo renal or just piedra en el riñón. Now, if you say cálculo renal, most of the time they don't understand you, but you can go ahead and use it. They're interchangeable terms, so there's not a problem there. But I just like to say piedra en el riñón to it was a literal translation, right? Kidney stone, piedra en el riñón, and everybody understands what a piedra en el riñón is. So what is it? It's a stone that develops from crystals that form in the urine and build up on the inner surface of the kidney in the renal pelvis or the ureters. I hate that word. All right, I'm gonna go practice it in the bathroom in front of a mirror for like half an hour. Ureters. All right, so a kidney stone is just some sort of calcification or any. It can be made of a lot of materials, but the point is that it is a stone that develops in your kidneys, and then sometimes it blocks your ureters, and then it doesn't let the urine go out, so then your bladder like really expands, and then you will have pain. And then also the kidney stones get stuck in the ureter sometimes, and you have the same thing. And then all kinds of things could happen with those kidney stones. They could even, you can even get infected, or they're bad. And if you have a kidney stone, for the most part, you want to get that out. Very important term, and a term that you will most likely get to interpret not just in a urology session, but like medical history and all kinds of stuff. All right, so moving on to term number 8, and number 8 is prostate specific antigen, PSA, or in Spanish, antígeno prostático específico. And what is it? It's a protein made only by the prostate gland. High levels of PSA in the blood may be a sign of prostate cancer. So this is a test that they do for all individuals, male individuals over the age of 50, to be able to check and screen for cancer. They can also do a prostate exam, right? That's the all dreaded prostate exam where they put a finger inside your butt to be able to touch the prostate to see if it's enlarged. Well, now they don't really have to do that anymore. They can just do a PSA check, and then they will know if the person is at risk of cancer, right? But if it's clear, then they probably won't do the finger test. But if it shows that it possibly has cancer, they have to do the finger test. So that is it, and that is a very, very important term for urology as well. And they can even get asked this at just like a PCP session, a family doctor session, where the family doctor will ask them if they've done that test or send them to get that test, right? So that is a very important term, PSA, prostate specific antigen. And to be honest, I never say antígeno prostático específico. I just say su prueba de PSA, and they know what they're talking about. I try saying antígeno prostático específico, but everyone that I've said that to doesn't know what I'm talking about, and they ask the doctor more questions, so more time, making you look like a bad interpreter. But you're free to use whatever you want, right? We all have different styles, so feel free to follow my advice or not. It's all good. All right, and number 9, renal. In Spanish is renal, and this is just something relating to the kidneys. There's renal failure, insuficiencia renal, that is the description. That is not a vocabulary word, and I'm not going to explain what that is, but just know that whenever they say renal, is renal, and it means kidneys. All right, and for the last vocabulary term is going to be number 10, and this is UTI, urinary tract infection, and the Spanish translation for that is infección urinaria. Now, to be honest, I didn't know. I never even looked it up, because urinary tract infection to me is infección de las vías urinarias. Pretty simple, right? And what is it? Is an infection caused by bacteria that invade the urinary system and multiply. So a lot of times these UTIs don't even get to the urologist, so you will see this at urgent care clinics, emergency rooms, family doctors, right? Very rarely have I seen a UTI with the urologist. It's only when like they've tried all kinds of antibiotics and they haven't worked, and then they send them to the urologist to see what's going on with the UTI. Now, of course, one thing that I want to say is I always say infección de las vías urinarias, but now that I see infección urinaria, that makes me think that I'm just saying an extra word. I don't know if I'm going to change it or not, but that looks tempting. All right, and just one last thing, I did not include this in the sessions because this is something specific for Spanish. Now, Spanish speakers, you guys are going to come across the following term with urology, right? And the term is mal de orín. Now, LEPs love saying mal de orín, and this is a term that I hate because the literal translation for mal de orín is evil urine. So you can imagine interpreting that for the doctor. Hey, I have evil urine. All right, so of course that doesn't work. And when I started first as an interpreter, I tried to get the definition for it, but every person that I asked had a different symptoms. They would describe it differently, so I just stopped trying. There is no single definition for evil urine, for mal de orín. So what do I do now? And I have to say that I actually saw this in interpreter Facebook group, and I thought it was great, and it has worked ever since. So what do we use for evil urine? For mal de orín, we use, or I should say, I use urinary discomfort. Now, when the person says, I have mal de orín, I say, I have urinary discomfort. And that works because when you say urinary discomfort, of course, that begs the question, all right, well, what is the discomfort? Can you describe it to me? And that's what the doctor says. And then you are out of the water, and you just have to interpret from there on. Urinary discomfort. Remember that for mal de orín. Remember that because you will hear it. And you can say evil urine if you want, but that's not gonna make you look good as an interpreter. All right, so that is going to be pretty much it for me today. Remember that I'll be here every Monday through Friday after work. Leave your questions in the comments and I will answer some of them on the next session. Remember that we are still trying to get the prepare for the CCHI video to 100 likes, guys, so let's get to it. I'll have a link in the description so we can do that. I'm pretty sure that we can get it, not this week, but maybe next week. All right, And also remember that we have a Patreon page for as little as $1 of your support. You help motivate us to create much more content, and we give you access to all of the medical practice videos at free, scripts to those videos, answer sheets, vocabulary list, and much more. And most importantly, you will forever win a place inside of our heart. We love all of our Patreons. Thank you, Yaima, for buying me that coffee. And we love everyone that has ever bought us a coffee. We also love all of our subscribers and all of our viewers, and you that is watching the end of this video. We love you as well. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you have not done so for much more content. And don't forget to share. Happy interpreting. Goodbye.